I don't know why racing games keep failing, dude. They have the car list, but it's always the worst balance in the world.
Maybe you should try balancing the cars yourself.
Balance the cars myself. Welcome to The Crew Unlimited, a revival project for the pseudo-MMO racing game, The Crew. The Crew was shut down a few years ago, not allowing anyone to play or explore its 1,900 square mile recreation of the United States, filled to the brim with varied races, skills, a unicorn, a full story, multiple specs of cars, and much more. It's a shame, then, that the game got shut down, meaning no one gets to experience this game ever again. Well, thanks to the Crew Unlimited team, we can! But not only can we experience the Crew as it was when it shut down, we can now improve the experience with mods. I'm talking things like the Handling Fix mod, which removes the cringe auto-rotation in the air, no rain mod, no traffic mod, too much traffic mod, livery mods, radio mods. There's so much! And the modding scene is just getting started. It's all really cool stuff. Why are you watching my video? My name is Hiron228. I'm an enjoyer of racing in the racing game. I've created the most advanced racing game technology the world has ever seen. Car balance. Racing games are infamous for their comical lack of balance of performance amongst their car list. As an example, the term Bone Shaker is synonymous with Forza. Other racers like Need for Speed, Grid, The Crew, all have best-in-class vehicles that dominate their online racing scenes. Now, I believe that one car being better than the rest is cringe. Variety is the spice of life. With modding now possible in the Crew Unlimited, I have the power to make all cars viable. So how did I create this car balance technology? Well, first, it's important to understand the history of what the meta was in the Crew. The Crew has had many eras with different cars and settings running the online PvP. Before the massive overhaul that was Wildrun, the meta shifted between cars with each patch. Due to the general low grip conditions pre-Wildrun, whatever had the most traction in a given patch dominated in PvP. Fun fact, grip was so low back pre-Wildrun that the meta for some cars was to remove the weight reduction upgrade from a car in order for it to have more weight on its wheels, which gave it more traction. Yes, this was goofy, but it worked. At the game's launch, everyone was rocking all-wheel drive. The Skyline was dominating street and dirt. Perf, it was the Lambos and the Ford Focus. Raid, I don't know. And Circuit, it was the Ford GT and the SLS. As time went on, other cars were adjusted and became the new meta. Perf saw the rise of the LaFerrari. Raid, the buggy, became God. Circuit, the 8C, became the meta. And in street and dirt, well, the Skyline kind of always dominated pre-Wildrun. One thing that was consistent with all pre-Wildrun patches was using the Hardcore driving assist setting. Hardcore stopped traction control and stability control from limiting a car's power and rotation. This was good. With the Wildrun overhaul, this changed. No longer was Hardcore the fastest way to play. Hardcore, relative to the other driving assists, now simply reduces traction. This meant that now the fastest way to play was with the all driving help assist, as it was quite literally free grip. But this highlighted a problem with all driving help. While all driving help did provide free grip, it also provided lane assistance. This lane assistance would make it so that a player's car would steer towards the center of the road if it got too close to the edge. This is quite cringe. So, a lot of players ended up using the sport driving assist. Relative to all driving help, you were missing out on some free grip, but it was definitely still faster than Hardcore, and meant you didn't have to deal with the annoying lane assistance from all driving help. I've got to be honest, I've been gatekeeping another driving setting from you all. The driving setting that low-key determines if a racing game has peak driving in it or not. I'm talking about wheel mode. Wheel mode in the Crew is the ultimate answer to understeer. car not turning enough? Bro, just turn more. Wheel mode removes all the steering filters from your input, allowing for some insane maneuvers, especially at high speed. But more importantly, disables the lane assistance from all driving help. This means the fastest way to play the crew post Wildrun is all driving help and wheel mode. This combo provides the free grip benefit from all driving help whilst not having to deal with the annoying lane assistance. Now post Wildrun, with the assist changes, wheel mode really shines. Alongside the assist changes in Wildrun, the handling of the cars also changed. Generally, every car received more grip, among other tweaks. Now, every car didn't change at once. The cars were updated to the new Wildrun physics in 3 patches following the release of Wildrun. Interestingly, all the meta cars were in the first patch. After the first patch, the Pagani Huayra and Lotus X Siege now stood alongside the LaFerrari and Perf. Street had one of the newly added bikes, the KTM 450, competing for the top dog against the Skyline. The KTM got nerfed later on though. Dirt was introduced to the powerhouse known as the RT35. Raid, the starter Mustang, became quickest, while in circuit, the dominance of the 458 was insane. Honorable mention to bikes becoming the ice meta. From Wildrun onwards, the meta didn't change much, as no major handling or vehicle changes were introduced. More cars were introduced to the game, but none defeated the already existing meta. The only thing that changed was the use of clutch, as players realized using a clutch would delete shift times from cars. So, the crew when it rested had the following cars dominating their respective specs: Skyline and Street, RT35 and Dirt, Huayra and Perf, Mustang and Raid, and the 458 and Circuit. With the lore of the crew's meta understood, we can move on to how to balance the rest of the cars in the game. Me when I lie. We only know what the best cars are. We know nothing about how close or far, or perhaps bugged, the other cars are. Testing is required. To start, I'm going to focus on Perf spec, as it's the most popular spec in the game for any form of asphalt driving. With Perf chosen as the first to be tested, we need somewhere to complete the testing. A proving ground. Unfortunately, at the time of testing, the PvP tracks in the Crew Unlimited can't be accessed in solo play. Thankfully, there is a great track that is accessible via faction mission. The track is called Observatory Dash, because that's where it ends. But its use as a proving ground precedes the Crew Unlimited. It was used a decade ago by a keyboard warrior who has gone by many names. A being we know today as I Suck at Driving. ISAD is the racing game gameplay channel. More importantly, has a handful of runs of Observatory Dash in various cars at different points in the crew's life. These runs serve as excellent reference to see what has changed from then to today. I'll have a link in the description. For my testing, it's important to note what driving settings will be used. Since today, all driving help, wheel mode, and clutch is the fastest way to play, it only makes sense to balance around these settings, or else risk cars becoming broken when these settings are swapped to. Okay, with the track chosen and the driving settings to balance around decided, it's time to take all the perf cars and set up a baseline. Observatory Dash can be split into 3 sectors, divided by intersections. Sector 1 is defined by the opening high-speed cornering section, which then feeds into a barrage of low to medium-speed corners of varying severity. Sector 1's corners do not go much sharper than 90 degrees. The low to medium-speed corners on display here serve as a great test of traction and cornering speed. Sector 2 is the high-speed section of Observatory Dash. It starts with a few high-speed corners that then lead into its unique, long, and somewhat steep uphill. Because of this elevation climb, it's a great test of high-speed cornering, power, and momentum conservation. Sector 3 is a cornering section, somewhat like Sector 1 in its constant barrage. However, the corners are willing to be sharper than 90 degrees. More of a test of cornering speed than traction relative to Sector 1. Sector 3 comes to an end by opening up into a jump over the finish. The results are in, and oh my god, what the? On a 3-minute track, ignoring the bugged cars, the gap between the fastest and slowest car is 15 seconds. Not good. Weather update. I have 0 modding experience. Well, correction. Had 0 modding experience. Thanks to the beautiful EVOL Jysk and the face of the Crew Unlimited himself, Whammy, I was taught the basics of how to mod the Crew Unlimited. The TLDR that I received from both EVOL and Whammy was, "Start digging in the code, twin." So I did. There are many parameters that can be changed on a car. I'm talking weight, power, CG, tire grip, aero, front, mid, and rear, ARB, camber, arm position, arm angle, differential, start boost, NOS power, track width, and many more. With all these parameters available, and 75 cars to adjust, changing random stuff until I get a time that I want for every car isn't gonna cut it. I need to set some ground rules, as well as a way to streamline getting cars up to pace. I need la formula. Okay, so what am I setting as ground rules? First up, the number 1 car, the Pagani Huayra, will remain untouched. Forever. It will serve as the control for pace to ensure no power creep is introduced. Second, every car will have the same tire grip. Believe it or not, this is already mostly true. Most of the cars in perf have equal tire grip values of 103 front and 118.5 rear. Cars that aren't matching these values tend to be lacking tire grip, so those grip values will increase to match the rest of perf. The few cars that have more tire grip will have their grip values reduced to match the rest of perf in order to stay consistent. Third ground rule, weight distribution. One reason the Pagani Huayra is so good is its insane traction. It's able to achieve this traction thanks to its rearward weight balance. Looking at the code, the weight distribution of the Pagani Huayra is 40% front. In real life, the Huayra's weight balance is 44% front. This means the weight balance was adjusted to be about 10% more rearward than its real-life value. I bring up the real-life value because in-game, most other cars have their weight balances accurately reflected to their real-life value. This means they are struggling for traction relative to the Huayra. So, in order to be fair, all perf cars will get their weight distribution shifted about 10% rearward relative to their real-life value. Interestingly, the starter cars, and a few others, already have this adjustment of weight balance. I guess the devs forgot the rest of the cars, I don't know. Fourth ground rule, no suspension tuning. I'm talking bone stock. I could tweak every car's suspension to be perfect in the way I see fit, but I don't represent everyone. Some people may like the way a specific car setup feels, while another may not. So the suspension geometry and shock values will remain as they were, unless there's very clearly an issue with a car suspension from vanilla. Also, I'm lazy. So those are the ground rules. But what about developing la formula? The ultimate verification of pace is lap time, but running a lap every time a change is made will take forever. I need to be able to change all the car stats with confidence that it will match the Huayra's pace. Power to weight is one way to achieve this. Power to weight ratio is the power of a vehicle divided by its weight. It's inspired by Newton's second law of physics, force equals mass times acceleration. After some algebra, we can get force divided by mass equals acceleration, where force in this case is power, and mass is weight of a specific car. Meaning, as long as the power to weight ratio of 2 cars is the same, then they will accelerate at the same rate. The Huayra's power to weight is greater than most of the cars in perf, so it would stand to reason that matching the Huayra's power to weight with other cars would lead to similar pace. The problem with this assumption is power to weight balancing only really applies to driving in a straight line, as well as everything else about the cars being identical, but we don't worry about that right now. If 2 cars have the same power to weight, it's far more beneficial to take the lighter of the 2 cars in order to tackle anything handling related better than the heavier car. Following this logic then, the heavier a car is, the better its power to weight should be in order to compensate for lackluster handling. But how much better? I don't know. To find out, I first modified my starter car, the Mustang. I divided the power to weight of the Huayra by the power to weight of the Mustang. I took that value and multiplied it by the horsepower of the Mustang to get its new horsepower value. This led to the Mustang jumping from 602 horsepower to 978 horsepower. Following the logic stated earlier, since the Mustang is heavier than the Huayra, it needs a better power to weight ratio than the Huayra. Right now, it's matching. This can be achieved by further increasing the power of the Mustang, or reducing its weight. Increasing power leads to immense wasteful wheel spin, so reducing weight that scales to the Huayra was the route I went with. To determine how much to reduce weight, I took the difference of weight between the Huayra and the Mustang, multiplied it by a fraction I made up, then added that value to the Huayra's weight to get the Mustang's new weight value. This dropped almost 180 pounds from the Mustang, and now means the Mustang has a greater power to weight ratio than the Huayra. Does this mean the Mustang is up to Huayra pace now? Doing a run on Observatory Dash, the newly modified Mustang was still a bit too short of the Huayra's pace. It needed a bit more help. Earlier, I mentioned how increasing power leads to wasteful wheel spin. This became immediately apparent off the line with the power increase of the Mustang. To help it off the line, I increased its start boost. Start boost is how much forward push you get when starting from a dig. The greater the start boost, the more you move off the line. The Huayra has a relatively high start boost, so in order to not make up values, I scaled the Mustang's start boost to the Huayra's with this formula. Additionally, I also increased the Mustang's downforce by about 10% to help it get up to pace. With these changes to the Mustang, it's now on pace with the Huayra. Let's go. But does this formula work with other cars? To test, I used it on other starter cars, the Camaro, Challenger, and 370Z. And it does! The starter cars are able to compete with the Pagani Huayra. Success. I can finally say, Ya tengo la formula. For the rest of the cars in Perf, I will apply La Formula and verify to see if it actually works, and make some fine-tuning adjustments if a car is under or over-tuned. This process is actually doable, and doesn't take forever. You see, I say that, but one roadblock did appear though, the classic muscle cars. Applying La Formula to these cars led to immense wasteful wheel spin. The reason for this was because many classic muscles had a super forward weight distribution, which meant no grip for the rear wheels. The ground rule of shifting the weight distribution rearwards 10% did help, but there was still no traction for the rear wheels. I could shift the weight further backwards, or give the cars more tire grip, but that would not only go against the ground rules, granted ones that I made up, but also makes the classic muscle stop feeling like classic muscle. So the classic muscles are cooked then. Whoa. I didn't say that. With limitation comes innovation. I decided to make a subcategory of perf car. The cars I call Highway Heroes, I've equipped with a special plus 2x boost to their NOS power. Designed to dominate any open road. Alpha Grand Prix wasn't this fast! Now I know what you might be thinking. Doesn't this make these Highway Heroes overpowered? On highways, maybe. On Observatory Dash, they clock in towards the bottom, and additionally require good NOS management to extract good pace out of. A quick guide then of how NOS works in the crew. NOS in the crew serves as an immediate boost of power to a car's driven wheels. It's always regenerating at a consistent rate. NOS power scales directly to how much NOS is in the tank. Burning on a full tank will have the greatest boost of power, while burning with anything less results in less NOS power. Think about it like using any battery-powered tool. On a full charge, a battery power tool will provide the greatest power for its use. However, as the charge depletes, the power tool is no longer so powerful. This is exactly how NOS works in the crew. The more boost saved up, the stronger it is. Back to the Highway Heroes now. I went this Giga NOS power route as all the Highway Heroes struggle to put down power. So if I reduce the power they're putting down, but relocate that power to the NOS, that makes them actually drivable, and encourages developing a skill exclusive to the game. To me, that sounds hype. As for the rest of the perf cars, it was smooth sailing bumping up their pace. The main bottleneck for cars becoming good is traction, and outside of the Highway Heroes, cars after the 10% rear weight distribution shift can manage to find grip at what I'm calling an acceptable level. So how do perf cars stack up now? Going back and retiming all the cars, here is the result. All the cars outside of the Highway Heroes are within 3 seconds of each other. Much better, especially when the bar is getting closer than the 15 seconds from vanilla. Now, the keen eye among you will notice the Pagani Huayra still at the top with a faster time from vanilla. Did I buff the Huayra, even though my ground rule said I wouldn't touch it? No. I did not touch the Huayra. It just so happens that after doing hundreds of runs of Observatory Dash, I got a lot better at it. For those of you concerned about this 3-second gap in pace being too large, not to worry, as I've already modified the underperformers in the 15 range to be more competitive. However, this timesheet is only driven by me, and of course only reflects Observatory Dash. Ideally, I'd have access to all the PvP tracks to balance the cars around, but that's currently not possible. So I'd like to make a request. Here, let me be professional about this. Greetings. Because you've made it this far in the video, I'm formally inviting you to help test my perf spec balance mod. Cars with unique quirks have been elevated to compete with the Pagani Huayra. Some with quirks that benefit the highest speeds of racing, and others whose quirks have not yet fully been explored. I'm looking for the greatest mod testers in all of the crew. If that's you, then follow the Discord link in the description. This Discord link will take you to the Crew Unlimited Discord, where you can find, under mod releases, the Perf Balance mod. This is my mod. There is no confirmation that this will be applied to the online patch of the game for PvP. The face of the Crew Unlimited, Whammy, has said he has nothing against having the cars balanced as part of the online patch, but I need to show that I've done a good job. I feel the only way to achieve good job status is to get more people playtesting the balance mod. Hence, this video. So please, don't be shy. Before I go, I'd like to give thanks to the Crew Unlimited team. I never would have expected for the state of racing games to be as dire as it is. But, with the Crew Unlimited, there's a glimmer that maybe we can make the racing game we've always wanted. Special thanks to the spearhead of TCU, Whammy. He was a big help in getting this balance mod rolling. The music you're listening to was actually composed and played by him. One more thing, I skimmed over a lot of the whole process of balancing. How I had to increase the drag on the cars I added power to in order to retain their cruising speed, and how the Skyline and the Raptor wheel clip, which I'm still trying to resolve. The Vanquish is just broken, so feel free to ask questions in the comments about any of that. More importantly, this is just perf spec. What about the other specs? They're on the agenda. Depending on when you're seeing this, I might already be done with the other specs. So don't worry. Who knows? I might do another video once I'm done with all the specs. Anyway, that's it from me. Again, thanks to the Crew Unlimited team. Bye-bye.
Hey Deco, you think this guy Hiron knows what he's talking about? Or is he just loco?
It took a genius to balance these cars' G-force.
He could be a genius, or he could be autistic.